Hey, everybody. Happy Martin Luther King Day. Thank you so much for joining. This is Tony Gaffnestone here. And this is our 83rd session of the BraveMaker Mastermind. We have a couple guests today. So glad to see Connie Joe and Netta joining. For the rest of you all members, welcome. We're here every single Monday. This is professional development. This is accountability. This is creative support for people in the film and entertainment industry from the Bay to LA and beyond. So BraveMaker is based in the SFA, and we do monthly events here and in LA. So quick culture keeping before we bring in James, who's our special guest today. We will be in LA on the 11th of February. So those of you who are members of the Mastermind, this is included in your membership. So please know that if you want to, if you are in LA or you want to come to LA, we're going to be at the LA Connection Theater. I'm going to quickly bring that up, which is an improv theater in Burbank from 3:30 till 6 o'clock with some special guests. And then we go right across the street to the New Deal, which we've been there before. They have a cool outdoor back cafe kind of thing, and it's light bites and hanging and more mixing and mingling. So that's happening on Wednesday, February 11th, included in membership. And if you are going to Sundance, and a few of us are, don't forget we are doing our party on January 21st. That's this Wednesday, as well as Saturday, the 24th, which is technically sold out right now. But if you are a Mastermind member, you did not reserve your ticket, let me know. There's also free tickets on Eventbrite for our live podcast that we're doing. We've already got a few Sundance selected filmmakers that are coming to our BraveMaker condo to record their show. And the last thing I'll say is I'm starting a new mastermind type class for feature filmmakers, which starts on February 6th. So this is a year-long commitment. I'm really looking for people who want to make feature films to commit every other Friday to working on their goals, to working on their script, putting their team together, to talking financing, also bringing in special guests who have feature filmmaking expertise. And after doing three feature films, I feel like I wish I had something like this for the support to make a full length movie because it ain't easy. So if you want more information about that, you also get discounts on all of these opportunities. Oh, I gotta say one last thing. Y'all, we have this new summit thing happening in April 11th, and it's really dope who we have coming. We just announced our first special multi-hyphenate guest. His name is Dominic Cologne, but it's happening on April 11th. It's a Saturday, it's all day long. You all get 50% off. So members, you got a discount in your email for 50% off this. It's 250 bucks now. It was 175 for the pre-sale. One person in this group bought it. So way to go. They spent 80 some dollars, which was great. This is happening April 11th, all day long. Multi hyphenates, writers, directors, producers, all the people who are slash making things happen. It's going to be a conference. We only have 85 spots because it's the conference room capacity. All right, that's enough. If you're a guest, this is what we're going to do. We're going to bring in James, who is a multi-talented, also probably a multi-hyphenate inclusion in there to chat about his career. I will put his Instagram in the chat. James, this is a great example of why BraveMaker mixers are important in building relationships. So in October, our event was in Los Feliz, and we did a premiere party for a feature film called I Really Love My Husband that BraveMaker helped produce. And James was there because he got invited by Jack, who is another actor in the film and a part of BraveMaker now. James comes. We talked kind of briefly. Then we started following each other on social media. Then I'm like looking at his career. I'm like, oh, this guy's dope. He's got so many cool opportunities and things he's doing, and he's also helping other people too. So I'm like, okay, let's bring him in and get to know him a little bit more. So yeah, welcome James to BraveMaker Mastermind.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, dude. Okay, quick. Give us your origin story. How did you get to be this actor who's got all these cool credits on in film and TV, do a lot of voice dubbing and different things. Tell us about that. You're in LA.
Yeah, I'm in LA. I'm from all over. I was born in the States, but I grew up in Thailand, going to international school Bangkok. Um, when I was applying to colleges, it was right around to date me a little bit. It was right around the Second Iraq War, and a friend offhandedly said something about like, "What's the point in going? We're all gonna get drafted anyway." Me not knowing anything about the world and how it works was like, "Yeah, that's probably true." So I only applied to like four different schools, three of which were UCs as an out-of-state student that did not have a 4.1 million GPA. So I only got into this school, my basically my backup school, which was UBC, University of British Columbia in Vancouver, Canada. And, kind of being a confused, undecided, late teenager, early young adult, I did end up doing a film class, film production class, and loving it, falling in love with filmmaking, the filmmaking process, and realizing it's something I've always wanted to do, entertainment in general, but never really knowing how to get into it, or really any like family members, that were involved in it. And so, fast forward a little bit, I actually ended up transferring to a school in Australia, finishing a 2 year program out there, and then moving back to Thailand for a little bit, and then taking an acting class to improve my directing, just as an exercise. But then, while doing that, realizing, oh my God, I actually really love this, and I've always wanted to do this. I've just never really given myself permission to, and it's like this slow. Oh my God, that's my Instagram right there.
There you are. There you are.
It was like a slow peeling back of layers, of both like permission and really connecting to what I've always wanted to do. And eventually I moved to LA, over 11 years ago now. And also originally just wanting to do the writing directing, but then again, giving myself that permission and slowly putting my toe back into the acting world and realizing, no, this really is truly what I want to at least be pushing forward, and pursued that for the last, 10 and a half years now. But also, yeah, like as you could see on my account, I made this little series, a detective series last year called Lies and Love Bots, because I'm trying to bring back my, filmmaking skills and storytelling skills, combined with my acting, as a content creator for about almost 6 years now. I got into TikTok, right around, the pandemic when it was really blowing up in 2020, because I wanted to get on board with that. And so it's kind of this juggling of combining different skills and avenues.
Yeah, if you follow James, by the way, I put his Instagram in the chat, and you're all welcome to do that. This is how we also build relationships. We have Connie Joe, who's here, who was one of our guests a month and a half-ish ago. So thanks, Connie Joe, for being
Yes, and
here.
I also produced a film with James and Jack called To Die
Love,
Young. So,
love. Yeah, that's
yeah.
awesome. I love Jack. Jack was also our mental health coordinator on our feature that we did last year. So dope. Thanks for being here, Connie. That's awesome.
Yeah. Hi,
Well,
James.
Hi,
let's chat a
happy to
little
be
bit
here.
about this multi-hyphenate kind of thing.
Hmm.
You also taking some of the power and making this series, I think is really cool. I'm trying to follow suit in the same way and going, okay, I gotta, the lies and love bots of it all. I gotta go, what else can I create? I was just talking to somebody today right before I jumped on this, going, how can I break in? Which so many people do, which is the wrong question to be asking these days, right? Because you have a film studio almost right here on your phone. It's like produce yourself. Don't ask about how I can break in. Ask what can I make right now that is going to satisfy me, fulfill me, help me tell stories, even if it feels cringe. But talk a little bit about kind of some of the ideas, and if you have strategies around it, what are they?
Yeah, I mean that was my kind of, what kind of spurred me, to begin. Actually, I started with Vine, back in 2015, all those years ago. Rest in peace, Vine. Because it was a way to kind of, be creative and expressive, using the phone that I had in my pocket. And of course, part of it was also seeing, my friends' accounts really blow up. I think a friend that was an early adopter of TikTok hit like 2 million in 2020, and I was like, wow, that's a big number. Maybe that can help me get a role and get more roles or something, just having those numbers, which is actually a terrible reason to jump into things as the foundation, which I slowly learned because, I kind of jump between a lot of different kind of like niches and characters. I think my main thing that I was doing for a bit was really, yeah, kind of just entertainment and comedy skits and stuff. But the first thing that I think that really blew up was a character I called the Internet Boyfriend. I was essentially making emotional thirst traps, which were just POV videos, kind of playing that kind of perfect boyfriend role. And
The internet is
that was,
here for the thirst traps, James. The internet is loving the thirst traps.
um, and yeah, so it was trying to, yeah, kind of take back the control of just putting my face out there and creating, giving people, and this is a strategy that I've really honed and understood over the past 5 6 years, is that like content creation is very much like the commercial side, right? We can create art and just put it out there, and that's great, and I think it's very important to do fulfilling things. But because of all the competition and all the saturation, like content creation I think needs to be very specific and strategic in how we present it. And I think the one of the most important things is what feelings are we creating in the audience. And being a content creator, I think, has really, really helped refine and hone that business side of my artistic expression as well, which, it's a bit of an oxymoron because I think like the business side often puts restrictions on us. But it's that sort of like creativity can thrive under a certain amount of restrictions. If there's too many, of course, then it becomes like overly corporate and sanitized. But like, I think there's finding a balance, so that we can tell the stories that we want to tell, but that can also really be seen by people, because social media now is really becoming all these like kind of search engines and topic based things.
But also we're seeing people like who are creating sketches and or characters on their social media, then parlay that into similar characters on shows. Like I watched I Love LA. You watch I Love LA on HBO by
I
any
haven't had a
chance?
chance yet.
So it's all about the influencer culture. And if you watch that, you'll see some of the co-star or guest stars that are on that show. You'll recognize them from some of the viral characters that they did.
Right.
And then some of those people are parlaying those characters into shows for themselves. And our friend Leah Knauer, who we brought on here before, she's like, this is what some agents and managers are looking at when they're trying to find clients. They're seeing who has huge followings, who is funny, who is able to self-initiate because they want, like you said, this is a business and they want to make money. So they're looking at James going, oh, James is actually not waiting for anybody else to book him. He's creating his own content. He's being that multi-hyphenate. It's I think a very appealing thing for the industry to say, I'll collect my 10% and just help out. I know, but what do you think about that when it comes to the agents and reps and all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, I mean, you know, I'll constantly reiterating that this is a business, and that with so many people out there, it's always about the lower risk decision making. If someone already has money coming in, you represent them and take the 10%. That's a lot easier than like, taking I can't remember the word, but it's like the developmental client, which, when people have the extra time and money, sure, that's great to be able to do. But when the belt's tightening, which we're really seeing with Hollywood these last few years, people want to take less risk. They have less time, they have less energy, they have less money. And so it's ironically kind of like up to the creators to take those risks first, to prove ourselves. And then that's when like more and more people potentially can come on board as well.
If anybody is going to Sundance, I am hosting, I put it in the chat too. I'm hosting a panel with three different reps from LA to talk about the industry right now, what's happening with getting reps, all those age-old questions, which I think is a tired question. How do you get a rep? How can I get an agent? It's again, I think one of the wrong questions to ask, like what you're saying. We have to be thinking business minded, not how can I get an agent, but how can I draw an agent to me? What is going to make an agent want to ask me before I have to ask them? That is what I think is a key thing here. And I see that, on some of the work you're doing. You're also doing a lot of voice work and dubbing, so talk a little bit about that because there's a lot of work to be done for actors in the voice space.
Yeah, so the dub world is something I kind of fell into. Literally, yeah, at the end of 2020, there was like a list going around that a friend of mine had created, and it was this sort of like, his kind of response to the way the industry was. I think the because I'm not super deep into the voice world. Um, and I guess around that time he it was it was like a response to the excuse that like excuse I don't if it's an excuse or reason or whatever, but like I guess he had been hearing that like, oh, we couldn't find an actor of this specific ethnicity or cultural background. So he was like, screw that, I'm going to create a list that people can go to so that you cannot use that excuse anymore. Um, so he was like, I'm starting this list. I'm like, yeah, sure, I'll just put myself on there. And from that, I got an audition for a dub project, and I booked it. First one ever. So very luckily, I kind of fell into this world of dubbing, and just it did feel very good in that it was this sort of like the kind of work begets work. So I got this job. I really didn't have any connections still even after that, but that this audio studio just kind of asked me to come back for some incidental roles like a few months later, and then I got an audition for a bigger project and just read for that, and then ended up getting the lead role in that. And I was like, oh my God, amazing, cool, I get to work. And then from that, I was able to leverage that to getting voice agents. And so it was this, kind of like upward waterfall, I guess, or stair effect. Um, and so, yeah, like, the voice dubbing world, I've done a lot of work now. And so I know directors, like the last summer job I just did, it was essentially like the director reached out and was like, hey, can you speak another language? And I was like, yes. And then she's like, okay, cool, I'll get back to you. And then through a bunch of back behind the scenes decision making stuff, I ended up getting this role as well. And I don't think I auditioned for it because I've also played this actor's voice like multiple times in the past. Um, at the same time, though, it's this is this kind of live action voice dubbing world, but I haven't actually stepped foot into the video game and animation world. So it's like there's so many pockets that are also like kind of not quite in my reach yet.
And Squid Game. Hello.
Yeah, Squid Game. Yeah, yeah, Squid Game was one of those, that was, yeah, it was also a sort of connection where like it was a studio audio company that I worked for before. Um, but I guess it turns out with voice dubbing, like they don't necessarily have a database. It's like per director basis. So this was a new director. I hadn't worked with her before, but a friend happened to go in who was like, "Hey, do you want to work?" I was like, "Yes, of course I want to work."
Yeah,
And she's like,
yeah,
oh, "Okay,
yeah.
just send me your info." So I was like, "Cool." I sent her info, and I was like, "Oh, but I've worked with this company before. That's interesting." Either way, I auditioned for it, and I got it, and yeah, I got to do Squid Game.
So you said work begets work and momentum begets
Hmm.
momentum. I really like that and believe that. That's also for me like the law of attraction. And as I go to Sundance next week or this week on Wednesday, I know I will meet people that I've seen year after year after year. And I don't ever want to be like throwing shade, but I do get a little bit tired of people talking about making a film or talking about doing stuff. And then when you ask them, like they haven't done anything, because it's really easy to talk, it's harder to do. But when you do, it's like when you grease that wheel, when it starts moving forward, you just can't help but go, okay, cool. I want to direct feature films. That's what I want to do. I got to do two last year, but I didn't do any feature films in 2024. But was I doing short films in the middle? Yes. Was I doing things on social media? Yes. Like just continually find a way to do something. And here on session 83 for our mastermind members and our guests, I wanted to use the chat. What are you trying to do this year? We already did a session 2 weeks ago talking about what our 2026 goals are. Sometimes we just need to say it out loud and take responsibility and declare it and have accountability around it. So take 1 minute, put those goals in the chat right now. Everybody and anybody. I have a rewrite to do for my newest feature film by March 1st. That's my goal. You can keep me accountable to that. Write your goal in the chat, a goal or up to three if you want. All right. Build a team for the feature film I've co-written. Awesome, James. Let's make that happen for you. What else? Mastermind members. I want to complete three short films. Well, one scene has to happen in 2027. Great. I already wrote two of them. Belgica, amazing. Meta attempt to write my feature film, limiting beliefs behind. Overwhelming. Yep. film my short film. Beautiful. Add my acoustic recordings of my EP. Now it says 1 or 2 movies per month production set design. Yeah, Billy, production designer, hire Billy. This is the other thing. Look at what people want to do. Attach yourself or ask to be a part of it. Connie Joe says, make this feature film and Nephos. Olga, complete code get feature. Finish 2 shorts and post. Shoot another short in 2 weeks. Yes. Marion, Niall DeMarco finally has my screenplay. Okay, cool. Actor attachment, great. Finish the pitch deck. Finish my second short, Win says. Also love to act in your projects. Any, yeah, great, cool. Keep looking at this chat, y'all. Keep using it. Make sure you are following each other. This is where it goes. Like, hey, I heard you, or I saw you in the chat. You have 2 short films. Is there anything that I can do to help you move that forward? This is how we bring value to other people, as opposed to saying, what I need. What can I do for you? Jerry says, finish building my video rig, master the use of it, and produce first documentary. Okay, cool. All right, we'll keep going in that in the chat, James. I want to ask you. So let's talk a little bit about as an actor in collaboration with director and producer. You obviously worked with Connie Joe. I know Billy said he was a part of a project too that was happening in LA. So there's some connection there. But can you talk? I always like hearing best practices on set as an actor? What are things that you always tell yourself you're going to do? What are things that, when it comes to solving problems, that you avoid, or anything that you has become like ingrained in you as a habitual thing that has helped you move forward successfully on set?
Yeah, I mean, definitely, this openness for collaboration. I think I always hear stories about these actors that are fully just, for lack of a better word that I can think of, divas, where they act very entitled and they try to take control of everything and like, write their own scenes then and extend them like without really the writer's input. And it just sounds so like wild to me that like they're also not only are they still working, but that this is sort of like, you know, it's something that still happens so often. Because yeah, it's like we're on a ship together, and we're gonna spend time together. Why not make it a fun time, make it a good time, because we're ultimately we're creating entertainment, so we want to have fun doing that as well, you know. But I think also still, I guess it's that middle ground of also like respecting our own voices and artistic sensibilities as well, so that at least we, even if someone might be like, okay, well, ultimately we're not going to go with this, at least we can say that we spoke up about something that maybe rubs us the wrong way, or maybe isn't accurate, or just is like something that we feel like, no, I think this would be just make more sense. And even if it ends up getting shut down, at least there's that, collaboration that like people communicated like why, and that you were able to communicate that.
Mm. Speaking up, advocating for yourself, I
Yeah.
think that is a big thing, especially for actors. If you ever feel like something's not working or you need another take, asking for another take. Can you talk about working with directors and what you do as an actor when you get maybe confusing direction or when
hmm
you feel like it's not working? How do you process
hmm
some of that? What do you do?
Yeah, I think it depends, on the director and the project. For definitely live action, I've often found directors like get a glazed over look because they're wearing like a million different hats inside their brain too. So I think the preparation part is so important. Um, and something I've noticed too is I think, yeah, making sure to speak up and ask questions beforehand and not assuming things will go a certain way, because sometimes they will, but sometimes they won't. And when they don't and we're not prepared, that's when I think everyone looks, just gets caught with their pants down. And so, yeah, I think, yeah, as an actor, preparation for sure, I think is so key, but being able to pivot and be open to any changes that do come up.
For actors' sake, on the call, and if you're an actor, let's see a little hand raised or a little love in the box. If you identify as an actor, say hi. What does the preparation look like for you? Are you writing out your whole backstory? Are you doing an objective? Are you writing on your script, your I wants or your thoughts and all that kind of stuff? What does it look like to prepare for a role for you?
For me personally, it depends. I think it depends on the role as well. For dubbing, you literally just show up and they play the scene and they're like, "This is what happens. Go." Karaoke. The words are at the bottom, and so there is no preparation. So that's definitely helped me. That in and of itself, I guess that work alone is very helpful as preparation, so that I'm able to try to be able to kind of be like just that emotion's right under the surface. That kind of state of being. But often, yeah, it is reading the script. And if I get a character, I don't actually need to do much preparation because I read, I'm like, oh yeah, I get it. I'll have my interpretation and then just be ready to, adjust things if a director, has changes and stuff. And then obviously if I don't get it, then I would need to, if it's like just like a culture that I'm not used to or something. Like I don't know baseball at all. So, but if it's a character that
Mhm.
knows a lot about baseball, then I have to do the research and make sure I can have some, shorthand to be able to, if in case there's an improv moment or something, to be able to sound like I know what I'm talking about. Um, but yeah, I think it's also doing that preparation, that research, and then kind of also trusting the filmmakers because a funny story about To Die Alone is like, people that watch it are like, wait, so are you like a hiker? Do you know how to hike? I'm like, no, I'm a city boy. I'm the only one on set that like didn't do any of these things. It was actually the other way around. So that was like a really cool, I think, display of the fact that, with the production design and the wardrobe and the filmmaking that they were able to make me look like a very convincing hiker.
I think that's one of the best things as an actor. Anytime you don't know what you're doing, or have not, like for instance, I don't play football. I've played like in the backyard, but I'm not a professional football player. A casting director was like, "Hey, have you ever played football?" I was like, "I can act like I can," and then I booked it. And then I
Yeah,
had to figure like
get the throws.
let me make it look real. Yes, exactly. This is acting. So yeah, that's a beautiful thing when you can pass those things off, and that's fun. I also heard you say one more minute before we do some question and response from everyone else. Trust. You said you trust the director, you trust your collaborators. Do you have any stories of when trust has been broken and how to navigate that? Because sometimes I think as a collaborator myself, I've had to work with people, you know, feature films especially. They're long days, long shoots, and something happens like, ooh, that hurt. That broke some, not even just like collaborative trust, but friendship trust along the way. And I have to push through that for the sake of the project. Do you have any thoughts on
Yeah.
that?
I've honestly been very lucky in that I haven't had mm, really any that I can think of like situations where things um, have kind of broken down in that way. It's I think more so in that prep, like the prep stages, if anything. And I think this honestly, applies to like, just relationships that we have too, is that sort of I feel like them putting as much work and time and energy into that pre-production stage, even that developmental stage of whether it's a character or a relationship or a working relationship, I think is so important. And really any potential red flags that go off, addressing them right then and there so that they don't snowball into things, during production, um, snowball into things in a relationship later down the line. It's just funny, I guess, like talking to some friends recently. I just went back home for vacation and like this, someone I know, they saw some red flags early on in a relationship. Now they have kids and now the red flags have blossomed into giant banners and that's a problem, They for a film project, they were sussing out some early things. So luckily those stages are it's an early stage so they can part ways, but this like person started demanding money for their wasted time, which is some weird, ridiculous
Uh-huh.
situation. Yeah, and it's like, what is happening? But like, at least they didn't go into production. They caught these kind of early on. So I feel like
Yeah.
I think developing our sense of that early on and not, I think this industry and just idealism in general, like, because we want to be hopeful,
Hmm.
but sometimes there's this level of hope where we like put on rose-colored glasses and we overlook
Hmm.
things and we think
Hmm.
that'll be fine when often it may not be. And so, I mean, that I think comes with time and experience as well. But it's I think addressing nipping things in the bud early on, I would say, is something that is really, really important.
I'm gonna clip that, James. That is gold. Taking action again, initiating things ahead of time because you to own your personal peace and your creativity. And this is our, yes, this is our dream. We're living our dream work, but we can't be so idealistic that we brush things under the rug and then find ourselves building resentment for our collaborators. So that it really is gold. Those of you who are mastermind members in our archive, we did a whole session on keeping the peace on set with Naima Jordan and Solomon Hughes. Solomon Hughes on HBO's Winning Time played Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Naima Jordan is a filmmaker and co-founder of Cinemama in Oakland. Very, very important session. I think more of us as filmmakers and actors need to spend the time not just building our craft and our performance and our talent and our storytelling skills, but our human side, our taking care of our mental health. That is so important here at BraveMaker because when I encounter amazing creative people who are just rude and unkind and disrespectful and not prepared, that is a recipe for disaster. Okay, if you have questions, y'all raise your digital hand. And as always, keep them nice and short and direct so we can use our time wisely. Say who you are, where you are, how you identify, and then bring your question to the forefront. We'll bring Belgica Rodriguez up first. Welcome, Belgica.
Hi. Yeah, my name is Belgica Rodriguez. I'm in the Bay, but I also go to LA like once or twice a month for auditions and stuff. Primarily an actor and content creator. You said you've been in LA for 11 years, right? I'm curious about how many times you swapped like with agents and managers, and if you do have like a great connection with them, like if you have found the people, how you did it. Just because I find that I'm noticing I might be sticking with some people that aren't necessarily a great match. I just really like them as people, and I like don't want to abandon them, but I almost feel like it's necessary for me to move on.
Yeah. Um, I've heard other friends have that same story, and it's, that's what makes us human, and artists, that we have this connection with people. But I've also said to them, it is our business. It is,
Yeah.
it's not our friendships. And so me personally, I started off with a manager that kind of a little sketchy. There were some sus things that he did, and eventually parted ways because he wanted to shoot a pilot with his clients, but then with my character specifically, when we were doing this, audition for other characters, but then I still went up and played my character, and he was like, it's not that funny. Like, what if you just put on an accent? And I was like, that,
Oh, red flag.
yeah, yeah. And so after a few days, I was like, you know what? I can't be with you anymore as a client, And he had just gotten me some agents like a few months ago, so that worked out for me. It did look a little, a little sus on my end, but I had agents, so then I stayed with them. The pandemic happened like the year after,
Mm,
so that was like a weird thing. But then they, as agents, yeah, I didn't feel very happy with them either. I didn't feel like we had a very interpersonal relationship, and we had definitely some disconnects in certain artistic things. And then there was one point where they literally didn't reply to my emails for like 3 months. I was ready to drop them. Then the pandemic happened. Yeah.
wow.
Um, yeah. I mean, just to keep it short, I've been through like a handful of agents and managers, and
Hmm.
yeah, there was one I dropped like 3 years ago who super nice guy, super, super nice guy. And early on got me all these auditions. It was such an awesome year. Didn't get any, but booked the room, not the role. But
Hmm.
then literally the next year it was like just fully dropped off the face of the planet. And I was like, what is going on? Hello? And so yeah, sometimes these things change too. So it's like a weird it's like finding a partner in
Yeah,
life
you
as
just got to
well.
date
So
around.
yeah, yeah,
And
and
sometimes also you like outgrow them, right? Like they're not
yep,
necessarily connected with the right people or whatever.
yeah,
But yeah, I just wanted to hear also from you that because I'm just like, oh, I sometimes I'm too nice, and then sometimes I'm like, no, it's a business.
yeah,
So I think I'm playing around with all of that and listening to red flags because a manager reach out to me at the end of last year, and I was like, oh my God, it's an amazing match. And then there was this one thing where basically he didn't want to allow me to have personal life. And I was like, I was like, okay, wasn't a good match, gonna end the conversation. So yeah, definitely listen to the red flags.
yeah. But also remembering to hold on to that humanity and knowing that like
Yeah,
these feelings are natural, because we're human.
yeah.
Yeah,
Thank
the
you.
the human versus the business side feels very sometimes stressful to walk through, but your humanity is more important than your money making opportunities. And if you ever feel like objectified or used, I think that is a great red flag. Yeah, we all need to pay bills and make money, but I am not a piece of meat for you to toss around, right? That's really important. Thank you, Balika. Balika is a great YouTuber as well, and she pointed out that James has a YouTube channel, so it is in the chat. Make sure you follow each other, everybody. And we're gonna bring Gwen and then Nader. Hello, Gwen. Good morning.
I was wondering if you wanted to do Nader's question first, because I think it actually sort of piggybacks off of what you guys were just talking about.
Let me see. Where is it? Can you read it? Sorry,
This is the one in
Gwen, go
chat.
ahead. Oh, I want to work with people who see me as a human being
Yeah.
rather than as a checkbox. It's more it's more apparent for disabled people to be seen as checkboxes. But my question is for you, how do you find a person who's genuine? How do you know that people actually care rather than using you for your own ego?
Yeah, for sure. That I think that's can be even just a lifelong um, process. Of I reconnected with a friend who has gone through so much trauma. And hearing their stories about this trauma, it's like it's so unfortunate because I think this friend of mine is someone that I think is quick to trust. And we want to be quick to trust, but yeah, it's like it could be a tricky thing because when we're quick to trust and we want to see the best in people, but they don't do that, then that can hurt a lot. And I think, me personally, I've been generally pretty good at reading people, and trying to find evidence of intentions and stuff. And I think, you know, it could be helpful to just even create our own checklists that we just have on the side. Obviously we don't maybe not pull it up during a meeting and be like, or maybe we do, maybe that's part of our kind of a brand. But I think definitely even just starting off with checklists that can be helpful just to kind of visualize and piece together. Okay, these are like the behaviors that I want people to have, um, and how they see me and treat me. Um, it's I think it's a process. I think it's being okay with making those mistakes, but making sure to learn from them. I think it's also knowing, sometimes we have to pick our battles because if they're going to pay us a lot of money and we're just a checkbox, but that money is going to help us make more stuff, that's it's a conversation worth having with ourselves. And I think trusted people in our lives too, that whose opinions we trust about things, because yeah, it can happen. It can happen. And that's that's about all I can think of for that. But I think yeah, it is just I think developing that awareness, but and potentially using like a checklist or something.
Interesting. So if that's helpful to you, Nader, I think that the gut feelings that we have around certain people, I think are really important. I've been wrong sometimes, but like 80% of the time, my first gut reaction towards somebody feels like, mm, gosh, I don't have a good feeling, but my idealism to push through, like maybe they could help, maybe they would be, maybe that's just how they are. I hate that phrase. That's just how they are. But if how you are is demeaning, is rude, is ableist, is almost whatever, I just like no, I can't do that. Yeah, yeah. Especially when you have it's a collaborator and or it's a manager or a producer or someone in your life. Okay, Gwen, we'll pull you back in here, and then Netta, you're next.
Thank you so much. Hi, James. Thanks
Hi,
for giving us your time today.
for sure. Yeah.
I'm a new director. I'm learning, and so I would just love to hear from you some things that make on set, some things that make it for you a wonderful experience and you'd want to work with that director again. And then, a couple of things where you afterwards you're thinking, okay, that was work, and they paid me, but I would not work with that person again. I would just love to hear
Sure.
those, some
Yeah,
do's and don'ts.
definitely. Yeah, yeah. Like I mentioned before, the collaboration and being open to collaboration, I think, is a very, very important thing. One thing that I really do like and respect about directors is though, having a vision, a clear vision, and not necessarily being like a bully about it, but just, sticking with that vision, but having, reasons and justifications for that vision. And then, being open to suggestions and collaboration because yeah, recently, it was over a year ago now, but I worked with a friend actually, but this friend was too like, well, what do you think? What do you think about, And I'm like, just like I have my opinions, but I don't know where you want to go with this story. So like, you know, if you could start me down a direction and then I could give my opinions, that would be helpful. Because I can just hop in, but at least me personally, I as an actor know that, I am a section of the story and the storytelling. I don't have necessarily the big picture view of everything. So I think, yeah, clear communication. Um, it can be hard, on set when you're wearing all the hats, but we also have fragile egos sometimes. So like, coddling that a little bit and just give just feedback. Sometimes I get directors that just, can you do it again? I'm like, okay, sure, but like I don't know why you want me to do it again. So, but as an
James,
actor,
that is
obviously,
that is my biggest pet peeve as well. Do it again. Why? Why are
yeah,
we doing it
yeah,
again? Is there a
yeah,
boom in the shot? Do you want me to do it faster? Do I need to alter something? If you don't give me a friggin' reason, why are
yeah.
we doing it again?
Yeah. And so, yeah, as an actor, in my tool belt, I have an alt or like, okay, let me try something. Or like, I even, if I was aware of something like I didn't quite like, I'll do it to improve that. But just from the other side, it would be helpful to like, to know, if we're doing it again for technical reasons, if it's to get an alt. But yeah, just I think the clarity of communication, I think would be to boil it all down to one thing would be the ultimate important thing.
That's great. Thank you.
Go director Gwen. Let's make stuff happen. All right, that first timer, welcome. What's your question? Hello.
Hi, James.
Hi.
I'm Netta. I'm an actor, writer, singer, songwriter. I used to live. I'm in the Bay. I'm from here, but I lived in LA for like 6 years, and I really tried to connect. And looking back, it was just not the right vibe, the wrong people, and I was really sick in general, just humanity of like no follow through, so much talk, 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 hopes up, and I got really fatigued. So then I moved back to the bank. I was like, I'm gonna heal. I'm gonna rewire my whole mechanism and just like, and now I feel like I can come back like Neta 2.0, grounded and
Mm,
healed and
love that.
great energy. Hence why I found BraveMaker few days ago, and I'm like, what? You guys are all amazing. So now my thing is with any type of connection, like I have a 3 time rule. Like I will reach out 3 times, and then after that, like I also want to be pursued and wanted and all that stuff, not from an insecure place, but like I also want to, it's
Yeah,
important. It's important. Otherwise,
yeah,
like why collaborate or anything? So I wanted to know,
exactly.
have you been in those situations? And then like I'm just tired of chasing,
Hmm.
like because like I think that everything is a choice in life, in any realm. So it's like
Hmm.
you're choosing not to, So yeah,
Yep.
I think I'll repeat
No,
myself if I keep going.
100%. Yeah, 100%. I'm with you. Yeah, I'm still working on that, I think I think psychologically, LA being such a big city and being so difficult to get around with sometimes, and there's so many options. We could be sitting at home playing video games or watching anime or watching movies or doing all this stuff without having to meet up with someone to take a meeting or there's just so much going on, right? And no, I'm 100% with you. Like as a screening tactic, it's just like I'll reach out and try to set something up. But if it completely falls apart, then there's only so much I want to give, you know. I don't know if you're a fan of Family Guy, and this is such a random reference to it, but they had a Spider-Man cutaway where, Spider-Man saves Peter and he's like, everyone gets one. And so that's my own kind of philosophy. Or three, everyone gets like one reach out or three reach outs or something. And then if they're not getting back to me, then it's like, okay, time to move on. I personally am a fan of a tier list of like friendships and working relationships,
Mm.
and like just having a visual of like, okay, this person is like a D tier friend. I'll see them at events. We'll always talk about hanging out. Oh my God, so good to see you. Let's get lunch. And then if we do at most, it's like once a year. And that's fine. They're D tier versus like S tier. We're talking every day. We can work together and collaborate. We're probably gonna get married because this is so rare that to have someone that you can click on these levels, because yeah, it's wild just like how rare it is to find people that are both consistent and can kind of click with you artistically or socially or whatever. And I think that's why so many people, Scorsese and De Niro, or Scorsese and DiCaprio, they just are always collaborating together because maybe those are the only people that answer his calls and stuff. Um, but I think acknowledging that this isn't, it's not just you, it's like all of us. It's like this LA thing, or just a big city thing that happens to, I think, to everyone. um but having that screening tactic that you already have, like, I think that's great to have for sure, because we don't want to waste time on someone that isn't giving that time back, when we could be
Yeah.
working with people that do. But I think it's that trick of constantly, especially it's hard for introverts, I know, to like kind of start collecting all the Pokemon of friends and connections, and then sifting through that and finding like, okay, these are the people that I click with, both artistically and socially, and then these are the people that maybe we'll just hire them.
Yeah, because I also found that with friendships too, like I have great friends who are also filmmakers, but I found that those were the relationships that were hard because there's no money involved. But I thought it would be the opposite of like, we just want to make something, let's make something. And that was hard. So now I'm like, I guess the reality is I need to have come up with the money, and that's the only way for people to care. And I think that's messed up, right? Just a little bit.
That is, yeah, that is messed up. And I
Yeah.
think, yeah, I think, okay, they're like that C tier. I only work with them on a professional level,
Yeah.
because yeah, it's
It's
just,
hard.
I mean, humanity, yeah, humanity.
Hmm.
But I think, yeah, I see you, and it's, you know, you're not the only one having this issue. Because me being here 11 years, I still have trouble like hanging out with friends sometimes.
Right. I appreciate it. Thank you. That was a big
Yeah,
thing for me this year. So thanks.
that's a really good question too, Netta. And I think you all, if you were on our online mixer a couple weeks ago, we do a free Tuesday mixer, always so many things, but we were talking about being specific in your asks. And sometimes when you are not specific in trying to make a collaboration, people don't know what you want. And Priscilla Lamb, one of our BraveMaker members, talked about running into Ryan Coogler not once, but twice, and getting so starstruck and excited. Like she was wanting to ask, do you have an internship? How could I get involved with proximity? At one point, he just said, what are you asking me? He literally said, I'm not sure what you want from me. And she was like, damn, Ryan Coogler is saying, be specific. So I think I'm totally with it. After you've been specific with someone, if I've reached out to a casting director 3 times now, I said, I have a project, I have a grant, I want to pay you, I'm trying to cast a couple roles. Nothing. Then I messaged on Instagram. Hi, we met in person at this conference. I would like to work with you. I have some money. She's like, email me. I'm like, I already did, but I'll email you again. And then still nothing. I'm like, even after me saying I have money and being really specific, she's just too busy. That's fine. I'm moving on. So I think I love that, James. I love your tier rating. Why are they different letters like S and D? Why didn't it go to D to A? Can you explain that real quick? Did I miss that?
Oh, this is going, S is, S tier, and then A B C D. It's like, I think it comes from, I don't
It's
know if
an
it's,
internet thing. Tony,
Is it?
Tony, you're showing your dadness. It's
Yeah,
No,
not a
tell
wait.
trend.
me.
I just looked it up. It's
What is
actually
it?
rooted in Japanese grading.
yes,
And
yes.
S is like superlative or something, and then it's A, B, C, D.
Yeah. So
Oh,
DDR,
S.
Dance Dance Revolution, was where I originally got it from.
Okay, so it goes C or S is the best, and then A, B, C, D.
Yeah.
Okay, okay, great. Gosh, yeah, showing my age, but thank you. But I like that. I really like that. I'm really into figuring out how to categorize people. And I'm preparing myself when I'm at Sundance because there's a lot of high emotions, and everyone's like, "You should collab. Let's collab." I'm doing a sketch on that, by the way. I have my cheetah print orange thing. I'm doing a sketch about collabing. Everyone's like, "We should collab." I'm like, "Yeah, sure. Prove it. Show up. What do you mean? Let's collab." I'm so
Yeah, yeah.
tired of that. All right, here we go. Gabriele, welcome.
I'm like cracking up because I'm like, dang, I'm learning so much. But yeah, hi everyone. I'm
Hi.
Gabrielle. Hi James. Thank you for being here. It's really awesome to have such like a diverse guest every week, and I'm learning so much about the industry and really thankful for the space. I'm an actress, writer, content creator, just been doing a lot. And so as a fellow multi-hyphenate, my question is, how do you organize and execute your art consistently? Yeah.
I ask myself that too because honestly, at this point, it goes off of vibes. Like some people have, content schedules. I'm sure you've seen, okay, post, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, like
Mhm.
at least one, like less than 1 minute vertical video, and then do that. Like I go through waves of
Mm.
constantly posting and then waves of not. I probably should get more organized, but I think that's just what's worked for me because I'm not bad at following through. I think some people are bad at finishing things off, but I'm often like if I say, okay, I'm going to do this, I end up doing it. So my issue, I think, comes from like figuring out which thing to start at. But yeah, I think it's identifying our own strengths and weaknesses, how best we work. Because I think what's it called? The what I've seen in my research is like posting consistently is the thing that leads to success. But what does that even mean, right? I think personally, consistently means as often as you can without burning out and in a reasonable state. And for me, sometimes that's never for like a 2 month stretch. And other times I can, post a video a day for like 32 days straight or something. Um, I think the answer varies for everyone, but it is, understanding yourself, understanding where you lie. I don't think there is a one size fits all approach. Um, but I do personally prefer quality over quantity,
Mhm.
um, because if we truly wanted quantity, we'd be using AI generators to create slop and post and just, flooding the internet with nonsense, which that can lead to numbers and views and stuff, but it's kind of just hollow numbers as well, because
Mm.
I will say, as someone, I created meme content for about 8 months straight back in the second half of 2022, and that actually grew my following quite quickly. A lot of shares and likes and views and comments and whatever.
Mm.
But I would say that chunk, that huge chunk of audience is actually not high quality. They're not invested in me, James Tang, as a creator or artist. They were just into the meme itself.
Yeah.
They, yeah, they're not the ones that keep coming back. Because I do have like this, small but mighty like Twitch community, like of like 10 to 12, 20, 10 to 12 people or so that, and then like, it's like this circles, right? It's like this core, and then there's this kind of like outer satellite circle that pops in and out once in a while when they can.
Mhm.
And I think I'm going on complete tangents right now, but I think to focus on like the quality of people and building that core audience, I think is so much more important than trying to just get all the numbers and stuff because it's like sand through sifting, right? All that sand can just fall right through and still not end up in your bowl.
Mm.
But if you can get some of those rocks, like the five rocks that are always there, whether it's fans, whether it's collaborators, whether it's relationships in your life, um, those I think are the things that kind of stay around longer. And then it's kind of filling, it's the rocks and then the pebbles and then the sand and then the water kind of
A
metaphor in a
jar.
jar.
Yeah.
Exactly, yeah. And so it's like filling things up with the more important things. The 20% of things that create the 80% of results.
Mm. Mhm. Okay. Thank
If that
you.
answered any of the
Yeah,
stuff
because
you
I'm a
said.
low key a perfectionist when it comes to like video
Hmm.
making, and it could take like
Hmm.
so long to where it's like, oh, is this even good enough? But it's like, no, just
Something I
continue.
learned along the line with perfectionism as well. This is from a mindset coach called Whitney Euland, where perfectionism often is actually our brain's way of trying to protect us
Yeah.
because we feel safe, not because we haven't put it out yet, so we feel safe here. By putting it out there, that's a change. That's a shift. We're being perceived, we're being seen. Um, that could be a change in our life. To our primal brains, a change means death, right? If you go out and harvest berries and suddenly the berries are gone, whoa, no, we're gonna die. So our brains go into fight or flight mode and can't tell the difference between not eating berries and dying or posting a video, which does not lead to death, but our brains can't tell the difference. And it is about like, giving ourselves that kind of like grace and ease and soothing that back of our mind thoughts so that we can move forward and actually make this art, make this cool stuff.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thanks, Gabrielle. You got it. You're on your way. And
Yeah.
James, this is gold. Just gold.
Literally.
I feel like there needs to be a Japanese grading system for our
Thank
content
you.
as well, because not every piece of content is going to be that S tier,
Yeah.
right? And I'm learning myself, trying to put things out there. Like I just did this really silly. I had this silly idea about a Sundance character because I got this free stupid coat which I was referring to as a tiger and didn't realize it's not a tiger till late. It's like a cheetah or whatever. I started doing this stupid thing with my daughter, and then she's like,
I
"You should
love
do
that.
more." My daughter's becoming like a little influencer um, consultant, so I started doing more. But
Love
that
it.
first one that I did, I was like, "Oh my gosh, it wasn't good. It wasn't lit." Then I started like leveling up and feeling good about it. I'm like, you just got to learn, and that's okay, right? All of us are. We're not going to be, especially when it comes to stuff we make on our phone. This is not going to be a feature film that we submit to Sundance or South by. We have to lower the rating and the judgment on our stuff. And that's what I hear you saying. I think that's such important stuff out there. Thank you so much, dude, for your time. This is so good. You're very talented and smart and fun
Thank you very much.
and creative. And look forward to finding ways that we can partner together in the future. Again, make sure you're following James when we put out his clips this week. Share them. This is how we use the internet to our advantage. You are now connected to James, right? So let's do a screenshot. Anything else you want to say before we jump off
Yeah, I
here?
actually want to piggyback on that because I think something we as filmmakers are, we learn, some of us that went to film school and stuff, or just see the films that we make. They have a level of artistic excellence, artistic quality that we want to aspire to. But something that I think we might forget or overlook is that the audience, they don't give a shit. They do not care. Most of them have no idea what jumping the axis means with our edits, right? As long as you can clearly communicate something, I think with as little effort as possible, that's just for, content creation, like, videos on the internet, to make them feel something, that's way more important than obviously we have our own standards, than lighting something well. But if you're spending an extra 6 hours to make something go incrementally 1% better, it's better to take that 6 hours and put it into something else so that, it's about the feelings that you pull out from the audience. Oh, you're muted.
Boom, knowledge drop. Thank you, James. Great way to end. Let's do a screenshot, everybody. Get your face card ready. Here we go. Five, four, three, two, one. Awesome. You all are great. Thank you, James. I'm
Thanks so
gonna
much for having
encourage,
me.
yeah, I'm gonna encourage you all. If you are wanting to be a part of Mastermind, hit us up. We'll get you connected. Next week, not a Monday meeting. Tuesday, same time, 10 a.m. It will be reports, hot seats, sharing of work, and feedback. And I have one special announcement to make. I'm gonna stop. James, if you have to go, cool. But I have a special announcement for one of our Mastermind members who booked a major role that we're gonna celebrate here.